Well, welcome again to IMC Live, the interactive web show hosted by the Industrial Marketing Collective. We are here to help you make connections, learn, and get results for your business. I'm Peyton Warren, a senior strategist here at Gorilla 76, the industrial marketing agency, and I am one of your IMC Live hosts. Today, dear industrial marketers, we are talking about Google. From the changes that have been happening on the pay-per-click platform to how we've been modifying our own tactics, Google Ads has kept us on our toes this year. I think we traditionally do a Google Ads episode every year on the first of the year, but we just felt like there's some more going on and we should bring this back up. So joining Alan and I today to hash through it all, we've got our own senior performance marketer, Kevin McClary. The crowd goes wild. And we also have a new face joining us today, Nick Robinson, performance marketer here at Gorilla 76. So Nick, it's your first time to join the show as a guest. We are so happy to have you. Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit and share a little bit more about what you and Kevin do here at Gorilla?
Yeah, for sure. So usually what we do is in-platform optimization, writing reports for our copywriters, designers, and strategists based on performance, what we're seeing in the platform, and giving them insights and recommendations into how we think the ads could improve, and also setting up conversion tracking in GTM. So that's kind of like the breakdown of what we do day to day.
Awesome. Nick, thanks for coming. So to our friends in the room, let's start to unpack how y'all are using Google Ads in the chat. Want to know stuff like, how many campaigns are you currently running? Are they search ads, display ads? What sort of campaigns are they? If you feel inclined, I think a lot of people are always interested to hear like what you're spending. So like if you have a monthly budget or a daily spend that you're willing to share, I think folks in the community would find that interesting. Things like how you're measuring conversions and any other knowledge you'd like to drop in the chat with your questions. We will, yeah, Kevin says, welcome to Ad Nerd Hour. So continue the conversation there and we'll jump in. So let's go ahead and start with some search tactics, don't you think, Alan?
Yeah, I think that might be where we would like to start here. So Nick, as our esteemed new guest here, let's start with a question for you. So what's changed in how you've been setting up your campaigns recently?
Yeah, prior to the update, a lot of paid media managers would set up single keyword ad groups with expanded text ads, and this would help message match the keywords to the ad copy. But since Google has changed keywords to target meaning versus the actual keywords in the keyword, I usually set up ad groups in themes with responsive search ads.
Mm-hmm. And Kevin, how have you been thinking about this?
Yeah, similar to that. So responsive search ads are kind of an inevitability, like you can't get away from them. We've also been looking at exactly how much the match types have changed specifically. Like before we were using a lot of phrase match in industrial because there were phrase match would pick up like exact keyword targets. So like if you say your phrase is, I'm going to choose an example to use for today. Let's say like hydraulic lift or something like that. Say you're selling hydraulic lifts. If somebody searched hydraulic lift for my car, your ad could show up because it's within that phrase that you're targeting. Or someone could search specifically hydraulic lift and you would still get that exact match ad served. But now Google is like changing the match types a lot. So you have basically three match types. You have like broad match, phrase match, and exact match. Broad match is exactly what it means. It's targeting like really, really broad things. You can target one keyword and you can pick up like almost anything. Like, for example, the hydraulic lift, you could pick up any type of hydraulic lift search, whether that was like for a car to lift like pallets or anything like that. Phrase match, you can narrow it down a little bit more. And then exact match is like, it's going to match to the exact keyword. But with match types, those have changed significantly recently. And Nick, I really like the way that you describe it, like the the terms you use to describe it. So could you share like the breakdown? I think you said like unique signals versus like it's measuring signals versus just the keyword.
Yeah, that's a difference in broad match now. Broad match leverages unique signals like user location, landing page contents, other keywords in the ad group, previous searches, and predictive performance, while exact and phrase match only leverage the keyword itself and predictive performance. So there is a benefit now to running broad match over other keywords.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah, I feel like folks are like, well, folks, let me just speak for myself. I'm intimidated by broad match because it just feels noisy. But do you think that it's worth considering, like depending on like, I guess how old your campaign is? Like if you're starting fresh, do you think starting at broad match could be worth it just for the learning and like all those signals that you might be able to pick up in your data? Or would you still advise to get a little tighter at the outset?
It really depends on the industry that you're targeting and your budget. For B2B, it's difficult to run broad match because you can end up getting a lot of B2C searches. When I start out campaigns, I usually start with exact match because that way you know that you're getting relevant searches and you can look in your search terms and then add broad match after that based on the search terms that you're getting if they're relevant to what you're trying to advertise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and from the chat, Cheryl would like to know if using broad match makes it more important to use negative key terms.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'd say so. But with the new update to Google's keywords, you still want to be looking at your search terms no matter what match type you're running, just because you're not targeting the actual keyword anymore, you're targeting the meaning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's no matter what, you should be checking your negative search terms. Cheryl, like that's a really good question. Like we audit a lot of Google Ads accounts. Just being an agency, we look at a lot of different ad accounts and see where the opportunities are to improve and optimize. And I'll just tell you, most of them we run across aren't using broad match and they're not negativing out keywords. And we just find that like the majority of the ad spend is being wasted because of that, because people aren't negativing out terms and they're being charged when people click on their ads when they search for something pretty unrelated, especially in the B2B industrial space. Like we want to avoid consumer search terms, but it can be difficult depending on what category you're in. And yeah, there's just a lot of ways for Google to waste your money, and they will waste your money. So always keep an eye on those negative or on your search terms report and then negative out irrelevant searches.
How do you like just kind of go with a usual cadence for checking your negative keywords, or do you do it based on like search volume that you're seeing on different accounts? Like, because I've seen it get really unwieldy where all of a sudden you've got like thousands of words you have to go through, and it's painful to then have to filter.
Definitely depends on volume. Like there are some, if it's a higher volume and you're seeing like hundreds of new searches come in a day, you should be checking that every day. But then some accounts we work on, I mean, you can check it once a week and you'll be all right. I don't know, Nick, do you have similar or different cadence on checking yours?
Yeah, I agree with what you said on volume. It depends on the budget for me. With like 10K a month budgets, I'm usually in there a lot more than with 1K a month budgets. Um, and there's some accounts that just have been going for so long that they have a pretty solid negative list, so they don't need as much optimization. But I'd say a good rule of thumb is every 48 hours, check your search terms.
Awesome. So what, oh, Alan, go ahead if you got a question.
Oh no, go on, Peyton.
Well, I'm just curious, like, you know, we talked a little bit about keywords, how they're changing, but what about measurement? Any like tactics you guys have changed there in terms of how you're measuring if a campaign's working or not?
Yeah, I mainly use website visits, scroll depth, session duration, and link clicks to gauge website engagement. For e-com, it's a little bit different. I like using like add to cart, account signups, and checkouts. But with these micro conversions, you have to be careful because you have to take into account other factors that could be impacting results, as they're just vanity metrics and they don't give you the full picture on a page's user experience. I find that a better way to really gauge website engagement is through heat maps, and that way you can directly view page clicks as well as watch recordings of how people are interacting with your page.
Absolutely. Like that's a great point, Nick. Heat maps, for y'all who do or do not already use heat maps, but if you're interested in that, you can use Microsoft Clarity, which is free, and install it on your site and get really nice heat maps, and see like screen recordings of when people visited your site and where they clicked and what happened. That helps give you a different level of insight beside just data points on a spreadsheet, right? Like you can see what people are doing on your site. And then Nick, I love what you said too, like setting up scroll depth, like looking at engagement. That can be done through Google Analytics. So we've done episodes in the past about Google Analytics, but that anybody can install that on their site for free, and then you can set up the different conversion, or I guess events, you would call them events now, to track scroll depth. And there's all kinds of like free articles to teach you how to do that, to measure like 25%, 50%, 75% scroll depth on the page. And then there's a lot of metrics though that are already preloaded on Google Analytics, like engagement rate and clicks and things like that. So we are often pulling in all of those data points from multiple sources, right? So it's nice to have Google Analytics because you can link it with Google Ads and have them talk to each other. But there are all kinds of free. The majority of our tech stack, honestly, for measurement is using free tools, through whether it's analytics, setting up Tag Manager to create those events, Microsoft Clarity. You can also use Data Studio or Looker Studio, or whatever it is, the Google property to set up reporting dashboards and things like that. But there's so much you can do with just the free tools, as long as you just know which metrics you want to set up and then how to install those on your site.
Okay.
Yeah, I like to, oh, sorry, go ahead, Alan.
We had a question from the chat that I feel like might be relevant to a wider question that we'd want to get to, which is that Mary has been seeing a gradual decline in impressions and conversions in the last few months on Google Ads, and want to know if that's because of any changes Google might have been making, or if it's just, some phenomenon in their accounts. And related to that, what tends to be behind any changes that Google puts out there? Their business model tends to be about human behavior. So what is their rationale for making any of these changes, if they are making them?
Yeah, so I'll take first the question Mary posed. So you're seeing a decline in impressions and conversions. last few months on Google Ads. Is it that Google changes, or is it just you? I'd say it could potentially be a combination, right? It could be both. It could be one or the other. But like I would say, with the changes coming or that have happened, it's always worth auditing what you have existing now, because if you had something, you had your campaign set up a certain way, and several months ago they were performing really well, but now they've taken a decline. It could be that they are affected by changes in the way Google is using those keywords or the match types. So an example, like we've had a few clients where we saw a decline in impressions and conversions around the same time, and we changed the keyword match types to all exact match, which is kind of risky, but it ended up paying off really well for those specific clients, and we're getting more conversions at a lower cost. But I think I have seen it personally too, where just an account kind of gets stale after a little bit of time, and you might need to go in there and remove some underperforming keywords, maybe refresh the landing page, maybe even do a different bid adjustment. Maybe you've been bidding on max clicks, and maybe now you have enough conversion data that you can switch over to max conversions and do like a target CPA. So it can be a number of things. It's all about testing, right, and seeing what works. And it's hard for me to say without looking specifically at your account, but there's a lot of different things that could be affecting it. But those are the first things that I just listed that I would check. And then, Alan, what was your question about?
Just overall, when Google's making these kind of big changes that might actually be earth-shattering to some of their customers, what tends to drive these changes? What are they looking at to rationalize what makes it worth it?
That's right. So remember that Google's entire business model is about using our data. They're like harvesting the data that we use on Google and across the internet and figuring out a way to monetize it by serving as ads. So whenever there is a big change in the way Google ads work and the way keywords work, even in organic, like if there's a change into the SEO algorithm, it is all about that. It's all about Google finding a way to best monetize the data they have. So they could be seeing trends in consumer behavior, in the way people are using Google, and say, hey, if we adjust the way that keywords are, or that ads are served based off of these certain keywords, we can generate more clicks and thus generate more revenue for Google, more ad revenue. That's the way I see it. I don't know the specific reasons for this most recent change. Google is not that transparent. You usually don't know why they've made a change until years later, if at all. But seems to be that's the trend. I don't know, Nick, do you have any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I agree with what you said. I also think that they're trying to make the platforms just more accessible to people that don't have a background in paid media. I'm seeing it being done in Meta too, where a lot of things are more automated. So now small business owners that don't know anything about digital marketing, they can just run broad match campaigns and end up seeing decent results. So in the future, I see this becoming more and more automated because they're just trying to make more money from people with lower experience just entering digital marketing.
Yeah. While we're on the topic, we had a quick question come in that was wondering if this is at all related to the DOJ case. Any of that is, but I don't know how much we know about that.
Oh, this probably would not be. I think this started happening before that even hit the DOJ case. I mean, who knows? It could be, but I think that's unrelated. They're like, if that actually comes down on Google and they're like sanctioned in the full way that they say they're going to be, the impact would be much bigger than this, I think, than just changing keyword match types.
Yeah, I'm thinking about Mary's question a little bit too, just to jump back to that. And I think this kind of ties forward into the next point we want to make sure we make is there is some, you might want to like zoom out, Mary, and look at your the timeline on your account too, and just see if there's some trends as far as like seasonality on your business. I've definitely seen like Google make a bunch of changes and then we're like, oh, is it the changes that are causing us problems? And then all of a sudden we look at year over year or quarter over quarter and we're like, oh, every spring there's a dip and then it comes back about April, you know, or whatever. So you might be seeing something like that too, in your account where, you know, hey, a lot has happened in the last 12 months and maybe you just don't remember that there was a little lull during that period too, before you just start making sweeping changes and then all of a sudden you've like, you know, altered something that was working really well and there's just low volume right now. I think that's something to consider. The other thing that I was going to say is, you know, Alan asked about like what's driving Google, and it all comes down to how you are interacting with the platform and then monetizing you, right? Like Kevin was saying. So it's all like user experience. And I think that's one thing that has definitely stayed the same, right? Is, you know, their guiding star behind why they're making these changes. And so when it comes to like your actual campaigns that you've set up, the content that's in them, message match landing pages, anyone? If you're not doing that yet, you really, really need to be, because that's going to be like tying directly to the performance of your campaigns and really helping Google understand the meaning that you're trying to get at, right? Of these keywords that you're bidding on. But I mean, yeah, Kevin, anything else to say about like just the importance of message, or maybe just to hammer it home a little bit? I just think, you know, sometimes Kevin comes after me and he's like, hey, where's the message match here? That's why it's nice to have a team on these things.
Oh yeah, totally. So like thinking about the entire experience of the Google Ads like user, I'll go back to the example hydraulic lift. So let's say hydraulic lift for a car. If someone searches hydraulic lift for car and they see an ad that's like the headline is hydraulic lift for cars, great. They search for it, they saw the ad, they click on it, they're like, this is what I want. And then they go to the landing page. That landing page should probably also say hydraulic lift for cars. Maybe even you add something else, another benefit, can lift up to 10,000 pounds or whatever it is. Make it as easy as possible on the user. Like, as I mentioned, we audit a lot of Google Ads accounts, and you'd be surprised how often we get an ad account and we look at the search to ad to then landing page journey, and the landing page is just a generic homepage, or it is just a completely unrelated page on the website with no easy way for somebody to contact and reach out and convert, whether that's a call or a form fill or something like that. So with the changes to the recent changes too, in the way the Google like phrase match and exact match and everything is working, the match types, we found that it can be really effective to narrow it down even further too, and just have like a few ad groups. Maybe even you have one campaign, one ad group, one keyword, and that one keyword is going to a very, very matched specific landing page. That's going to be so effective, right? Like you're capturing people searching for the exact phrase hydraulic lift for car. They're going to a landing page that's like hydraulic lift for car. It's got an image of the product, a great headline. It's listing some benefits of your specific product. and then it's got a really easy button that goes to a contact page or even the form on the page, right? Where somebody can just fill out the form, tell you what they need, why they're contacting you, um, and then send that to your CRM or whatever you need to use, right? Like just you're thinking about reducing friction, and think about your own search behavior, your own buying behavior. When you search for something, if you don't find it and then click on the landing page and then go to a landing page that makes it really easy for you to do the thing, you're probably just going to opt out, right? Like even if you're doing something intentionally, you want to like buy tickets to a football game or something, right? Like, and they send you to a landing page and you have to go through like 4 or 5 steps. You have to log in, you have to sign up, you have to do this, do that. It's like, oh man, I don't even know if I want to do this anymore. So why would you do that? Add even more friction for the types of products that and services that we sell that are already pretty high ticket. So just make it easy on the user. It's pretty simple. But I will always echo this every time we talk about Google Ads because it's so dang important. Landing page experience. Luckily too, on our team now, Nick, he's got design background and he's really good at like designing landing pages and thinking about user experience. So I don't know, Nick, if you have anything else to add to that.
No, I think you did a pretty good job of summarizing it. It's a lot about just making the customer experience as simple and as easy as possible to convert and get as much information as they can.
Yeah,
I don't know if we can put Skylar on the spot. And Skylar, if you want to unmute and chat with us a little bit, I would love to have you come on.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, awesome. Because you asked us about 3D content, and I was like,
Yep.
what's 3D content?
Yeah.
And so I literally have a Reddit article pulled up over here on my
Yeah.
other screen.
Those are the good ones.
But like, yeah, you want to tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing? Is it 3Mira where you work?
Yes, 3Mira. Yep.
Cool.
Our company, 3Mira. What we do is we help manufacturers convert their CAD files into 3D web optimized consumer or customer experiences, like such as a virtual showroom, works with augmented reality and all that. And we've seen a lot of that movement in the consumer retail space. I mean, maybe you've tried on glasses or you've used Amazon to put a piece of furniture in your room, right? Or maybe even with IKEA. And a lot of the web, what we're following is a lot of the web is moving towards 3D. Maybe you've seen a lot of the new glasses, right? Meta just came out with these new glasses, getting really good reviews. Apple came out with theirs. So we sit on this this working standards group called Metaverse Standards Forum. And within that, there is an industrial metaverse digital twin type working groups. And so basically this 3D content is going to become the next form of content for the web. There's a lot of metadata you can put in it. And so we've been paying attention to that, how Google will stack rank shopping experiences based on you having a 3D model that you can have somebody interact with. I'm just wondering if you guys have seen anything like that on the ad side.
Not really yet. I mean, it's definitely definitely on the horizon, right? Like augmented reality, metaverse. Like I think we just haven't had any specific case where we've needed to apply any of that yet. But it's funny. I literally made a post about it the other day, like the new Meta glasses. Like I think that's the next step, right? Like we're gonna move off of smartphones eventually, and we're gonna move to like some sort of augmented reality glasses or contact lenses or something. And there will be whole new ways that they're going to be monetizing that platform. And maybe we will, instead of bidding on keywords, we'll be bidding on having our product be the top result 3D model that somebody can then test in their facility or their house or whatever. So we haven't messed with it, but I definitely see that as the next step.
Do you see any, just going back to content in general, right? Because many different types of content, you have copy, text, right? Image, video. do you have any content strategies that you work into your overall ad strategies?
I think for any campaigns that I'm running, like if we have product images, y'all, you'd be surprised how many people just don't even have pictures of their product. But if you have product
We
images,
can help with that.
yeah, I love it. But put images on your Google campaigns, you know, format them to the right size so that you can show up in any sort of setting, whether it's a mobile search or a desktop search, things like that. You know, definitely like anywhere that there is like a space to fill in additional copy or add logos, anything like that, like just fill it in with something, you know, don't leave those fields blank, because if you leave them blank, it's just going to be one of those places that Google's like, oh, they don't have data here, so we're not going to show them in this instance. So even if you're not like 100% in love with your product images right now, if you just format them to the right size and shape, then use them because you will see an increase in performance there. And I think maybe it was Brittany earlier that mentioned adding columns to her reports in Google to see like which keyword is actually driving the report or the results. You can even, you know, drill in and see which of those images is, you know, resulting in more clicks and things like that too. So the more you put in there, the more you can get out. Just think about think strategically, like, what do you want to learn? You know, like, what do you want to learn about? Is it that your like product images are good or bad? You know, like, and put things in there and just set up a test. And then I would say, like, when it comes to like testing content or testing anything in Google, it's not something that you can just like change for a day and be like, oh, we learned, let's go back. Like, you got to let it have a little bit of run time. And sometimes that can be really hard. So, you know, put a note on your calendar that says, you know, I changed this here. I'm not going to change it again until here. You know, give yourself 30 days or at least 2 weeks. If you have a lot of search volume, then you can maybe change things a little bit more quickly. But if your search volume on your terms is kind of low, you know, you're only getting a couple hundred searches a month on something, then you're going to want to give it a longer runtime. But yeah, I mean, Alan, anything else you want to add about like content?
Yeah, I definitely want to kind of hop back to that point about consistency in the landing page and just the overall buying funnel. Because if you have a person coming to your website for the first time, especially, that's the first impression they have of your overall company. And if they don't have a smooth buying process, even from the ad to the landing page, then that's going to set the tone for what they expect for how it is to work with you. They're probably going to expect that the first person they talk to is just going to hand them off to some other random person where they have to re-explain their problem all over again, or that when they become a customer, they're not going to have consistent knowledge base within the company where they're going to, you know, constantly have to work with some new people. You know, it's just that kind of expectation setting that you don't want the first impression to give the wrong idea. And that's the kind of thing I would say to leadership. If they're like, we just made this nice homepage, why do we not want people to go directly to it? Like, well, that adds an element of confusion and an element that you don't care about providing the best for their experience. And that is going to set a bad tone that we don't want to have to fight against from here on out, because it's really a simple thing compared to having to work against that first impression.
Mm-hmm. Folks are asking about images in the chat too. And Brian was asking, you know, in-house content versus stock. It seems like everyone's had the same results or similar results where in-house content is outperforming the stock content. You think it's worth still using stock content if you don't have anything else? I'll ask the class, Kevin or Nick, anyone.
I mean, if you're just starting out, something's better than nothing, right? Like, but I would say that's like if you're in your first couple months and you just haven't had the time to get content. But even then, like, just use your iPhone, right? If you need images, like we've even on paid social, I mean, paid search is different, but like even on paid social, like we've had ads do really well. And it's a basic photo taken with a phone, but it's such a niche product targeting a niche audience that it really resonates. So the same can be true on a paid search landing page. It'd be nice to have like something really high quality, but like if you can take a non-grainy, pretty like decent lighting photo with your phone just to have a product photo up there versus pulling something from some weird stock site or like the strange, weirdly dark mid-journey AI generated images or whatever it is, like do it yourself in-house all the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, we just had a question in the chat about the AI generated images. And I know like we've used them to a limited basis with our advertising for some clients, but I think that you could easily get overboard with your use of AI. So I don't know what the class thinks about that.
Mhm.
AI will probably be good enough eventually, right? Where you can prompt it something really specific, maybe even feed it an image of your thing, your product, and say, hey, give me a better quality image of this specific product in this specific setting. And it'll be able to do it probably in a few years. But like right now, I don't know. I don't really see a great use case for that type of like imagery. Yeah, I don't know. I just haven't seen an AI model that can make that good of an image of a niche industrial product.
Yeah, and to Matt Olson's point in the chat, we've had some clients where that the grittier and more real raw the photo, the better it performs. I mean, it kind of depends on the buyer in that industry and what they tend to appreciate, but
Yeah.
sometimes less is more.
Well, I think we have covered a lot of ground today. I just wanted to maybe we've asked a little bit about budget at the top, and folks kind of shared some of what they're spending. But yeah, I feel like I'd be remiss if we didn't at least bring it up on the show today. Um, you know, Kevin, if someone's just starting out with Google and they're like trying to figure out what they should be spending, it seems like the benchmark for most folks in the chat here in this group was, somewhere between $1,500 to $3,000 a month. But, how can you at least start to think about how much you should spend on Google?
Yeah, I think that number around that range makes sense for this audience for sure. That just makes sense. But I think if you want to get even more specific into what your budget should it be on the higher end or the lower end, or should it be outside that range? You need to do some keyword research. You need to find whether you're using the Google Keyword Planner tool or you SEMrush or whatever tool to get a prediction, an estimate on the types of keywords that you want to target, and then the estimated monthly searches, the estimated monthly clicks, and what the cost per click is. Because then you can get an idea of where do I want to be. If I want to be on the top end of the bidding competition, the keyword auction, I can bid X amount per click, and I'm going to estimate I'm going to have this amount of clicks, and it's a $5 cost per click. I want to spend $5,000 a month. Or so you can do that. You can also take all of that information and put it into like a calculator, paid search budget calculator, because you can even narrow it down to your predicted number of conversions. If you already have a conversion rate on your website that you've harvested that data from Google Analytics or whatever tool you're using, and roughly I get this amount of conversions from my contact page, you can start to do the reverse math of I want to pay this amount per conversion. I'm going to bid this amount per click around this amount of people that click actually convert. And you can get a pretty precise estimate. Here, I'll just drop a link to the calculator in the chat. There's all kinds of free estimate tools, but this is just one that I've seen that's worked pretty well before. Yeah, Nick, any other thoughts on that budget wise?
Yeah, it's also good to factor in your closing rate and conversion value. And that way you can know if your ads are even going to be profitable with the conversion rates that you're getting. But I think you, again, they did a great job of summarizing the keyword planner and everything else.
Awesome.
Good point.
Well, before we wrap up, I want to bring it back to another question. I don't even know who asked it. I can't remember at this point, but it was about maybe it was Jared. Microsoft ads. I mean, we talk a lot about Google ads. Do you think a lot of the advice that we're giving here and a lot of like the trends that you're seeing and like setup and just like the way the platforms are working, if folks are using like Bing or advertising on Microsoft, same things apply, or anything that you would flag as like a bit of a difference?
I haven't seen any huge differences recently on Bing versus Google. We use a lot of the same strategies on both and have pretty good results. I don't know that I don't want to. There could be something, right? Like there could be some sort of white space on Bing that we just haven't tapped yet. But I don't. Anytime we're running on both platforms for one company, I usually use pretty similar strategies across both.
Good place to start, at least.
Yeah, good place to start.
Cool.
All right. Well, with that, it is officially that time again. Kevin, Nick, thank you so much for being here. Nick, great job for your first appearance.
Woohoo!
Peyton, great to have you back in the host chair.
Yeah.
And thank everybody. I would like to thank everybody for sticking around. This has been a very, very detailed episode, so I hope everyone was taking notes.
I know Otter AI was taking notes in the.
I know, yeah. Something was. So anyway, so this is also your invitation to join us in the Industrial Marketing Collective. There's a discussion boards and a bunch of other free resources that you can get helpful tips and tricks from. And if you're looking for more support, there are paid courses you can tap into there as well. So visit industrialmarketingcollective.com, all that spelled like you'd expect, to get access. And then also the Industrial Marketing Summit 2025 early bird registration is open right now. So for details, we just made our debut on the Industrial Marketing Collective Summit.com, so you can go there. We'd love to see you there. Join us in Austin, Texas, February 26th and 28th. It's going to be a really good time. It was last year. So next time, October 17th, mark your calendars. Should be already marked if you're registered anyway. But we'll be discussing how to use the resources at your disposal to make unique ads and overcome design barriers with our very own marketing designer, TJ Sheridan. TJ is a great guy. It's going to be a great episode. So hope to see everybody there.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next time, October 17th.